Connectra creates opportunities for people living with disabilities by providing information, resources, and programming geared towards greater inclusion and quality of life. Check out some of the programs we offer through our online learning platform, Connect Together, including our Service Mondays, where we highlight a local organization or initiative. Wednesday Chair Yoga with Bobby Seal-Kobiski. Thursday Adapted Fitness with Megan Williamson. Friday Rotating Dance Classes hosted by Janice Lawrence and Joanne Cuff. And other initiatives, including presentations by the Disabled Independent Gardeners Association's Growable program and our Perspective series. Check out our updated programs calendar on our website, connectra.org, or find us on Facebook at Connectra Society.
Okay, you can start.
Okay, so I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, Kauthar?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so if people have questions, are they able to ask those questions or do they post them or okay.
Both ways. They can either turn on their speaker and speak to you or
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and just pull up the PowerPoint that I'm going to sort of follow.
Sure.
So yes, unfortunately, my colleague Rachel was supposed to be here today and is not well. So she asked if I could sort of stand in for her. So I'm not 100% familiar with her presentation, but it should be fine. And if there are any questions, people can feel free to interrupt while I'm talking or wait until the end, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to begin with, my name is, first of all, is Faylene Beaubier. I'm the Training and Outreach Coordinator with CELA, which is the Center for Equitable Library Access. I'm going to begin with a land acknowledgement. So I live and work on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. CELA is a national service that's used by people who live on many traditional territories of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. So this is just a little agenda of what I'm going to try and cover. I'll just talk briefly about what is CELA, how can you sign up for CELA, what services do we offer, a little bit about reading formats and technology options, and then contact information if you have questions or need help. So if you think about the last book that you read or a book that you're reading currently, think about whether you're enjoying it. Did you learn something new? Obviously, books play an important role in our lives. Everything from a fiction book that can take you to different worlds and times to nonfiction that has educational or professional value. So just briefly about CELA, the Center for Equitable Library Access. CELA is basically an accessible reading service that provides books and other materials to Canadians with print disabilities in the formats of their choice. CELA is a national not-for-profit organization that serves, or at least potentially, can serve the estimated 3 million Canadians who have print disabilities, and this is in partnership with member public libraries. CELA is guided by the principle that anyone, whether they have a print disability or not, should be able to access library service through their local public library. Our collection consists of over 1 million titles currently, and it's a bilingual collection with materials in English and French. So in terms of CELA coverage in British Columbia, all BC residents who have a print disability can access CELA's digital collection, that is our online collection. Full CELA service, which includes downloads, physical delivery of materials like books on CD or Braille books, and access to Bookshare, which is a US-based library for people with print disabilities. That full access is limited to people who live in an area where their public library is a CELA member. But as you can see from, or if you're able to see the PowerPoint slide, it basically gives you a list of all public libraries in British Columbia that are CELA members. And there are quite a large number of them, covering about 90% of the population in British Columbia. And that list of BC member libraries is also available on the CELA website. So in terms of who's eligible for CELA service, people living with print disabilities in Canada. There's a clause in the Canadian Copyright Act that gives CELA and other nonprofit organizations permission to produce materials in alternative or accessible formats for people who don't read regular print. So that would include people with learning disabilities, such as dyslexia, people with physical disabilities, where it's very difficult or impossible for them to turn the pages or manipulate a traditional print book, as well as people living with vision loss. Educators and other professionals who support individuals with print disabilities are also able to get access to CELA materials on behalf of the students or the clients that they're working with. So how do you sign up for CELA? First of all, you need a valid public library card number from a CELA member library, because it is a service that's provided via the public library system in Canada. Once you have a public library card, you can register for CELA online. So you can complete, there's a self-registration form, and there's a link to the self-registration form on the PowerPoint slide that's up right now. Or you can register through your public library. So if your library is a CELA member, a public library staff person should be able to help you register for CELA. So there's those two ways to register. Sometimes people may have someone, a family member or a friend, who helps them manage their library service, and the name and contact information of that person can be added to the CELA registration form as a designate for the person who's actually registering for CELA service. So the form, I would say, is relatively easy to fill out. It takes about probably 10 to 15 minutes. And so you have those two ways to register. You can either complete the CELA self-registration form, which is on our website. You will need a valid public library card in order to fill out that form, or you can register at your local library if your library is a CELA member, and a library staff person can take you through the registration process. So once you're registered, once we get the registration form at CELA, either sent to us by the public library, or if you complete the self-registration form and then submit it online, we send you a welcome message, usually by email. And if you're signing up for either getting physical CDs, books on CD in the mail, or if you're signing up to get books delivered by a format that's called direct to player, we send 2 sample books sort of to get you started. And once you're registered, then you'll get that welcome message. You would call CELA directly if you want to set up automatic selection, which is basically, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but automatic selection just means that books will be sent to you automatically on a regular basis. Or you also have the option of logging in to your CELA account and selecting your own books from the CELA website. If you're going to be using a phone or a tablet, you can download and set up, there's a free accessible reading app that's called Easy Reader. It's manufactured by a US company called Dolphin. And there's lots of information on the CELA website about Easy Reader, about how to download the app, and then how to get CELA books onto your device. So if you're thinking about why you might be interested in joining CELA, first there's the format option. So CELA offers books in audio, in Braille, and in e-text or electronic text format. CELA's collection includes books for all ages and interests, popular books, award winners, recommended reading when you need them. You can also get access to the Bookshare collection through your CELA membership. It's estimated that only about 7 to 10% of all published material is available in alternative or accessible formats for people who have difficulty reading regular print. So this is why services like CELA exist, to fill the gap so that anyone can read what they like in the format of their choice. So CELA does have a wide sort of variety in terms of our collection, books on all topics for all age levels in a variety of accessible formats. We also have magazines and newspapers. We try and follow popular reading trends and literary award programs, such as the Giller, Governor General, and various other programs to provide a range of current and best-selling titles. And CELA members can also suggest titles. So if there's a title that's not in our collection that you would like us to add to the collection, you can suggest titles by visiting the CELA website and selecting the Suggest a Title link. We can't guarantee that we're going to be able to include every suggestion that we get, but definitely our collections librarian looks at all suggestions, and we do our best to add books to the collection. As I mentioned, if you sign up for CELA, you also have the option of accessing Bookshare titles. Bookshare is a US collection of thousands of books in accessible digital formats. A couple of differences that it's important to note. If you want access to the CELA collection, we don't ask people for a proof of disability or a medical certificate. When you register, there's an eligibility section in the registration form that simply asks you to identify, yes, I do have a print disability, whether it's a visual, a physical, or a learning disability. However, to access Bookshare titles, because they are a separate organization and they operate under US copyright law, if you want to have access to Bookshare titles at celalibrary.ca, you need to provide a proof of disability form, which is available on the CELA website, which has to be signed by a qualifying authority, and that will give you access to Bookshare titles. The other important thing to note about Bookshare, most of their audio will be in synthetic speech. So what do I mean by synthetic speech? Computer generated speech. Most of CELA's audio collection is in human voice narration, but that won't be the case with Bookshare titles. The vast majority of them have been produced using synthetic or computer generated speech. So it depends. Some people don't like listening to synthetic speech, although it's definitely gotten a lot better in the last 5 to 10 years. But having access to Bookshare will give you access to a far larger collection than if you're simply accessing CELA titles. So on the next slide, there's just there's a picture of 4 titles. These are 4 popular titles with our readers from last month. The one on the left is called Blackwater Falls. It's a mystery about girls from immigrant communities who've been disappearing from Blackwater Falls, Colorado. And the main character, Detective Inaya Rahman, has to get to the truth. The second title that's highlighted on the PowerPoint slide is called Winners by Frederick Backman. The third title, Artificial Divide, is an anthology of stories written by blind authors and others. And it tries to capture the many layers of blindness that exist in the world. The fourth title that's highlighted on the slide is called The Diamond Eye. It's historical fiction set in World War II. It's the story of a quiet librarian who becomes history's deadliest sniper, and it's based on a true story and set in Kyiv, Ukraine. So those are just a sample of some of the popular titles from last month in our collection. So how do you choose titles from the CELA collection? There are several ways for CELA members to choose titles. Probably the most popular service is called automatic selection, where books are selected by CELA's system based on reading preferences that are chosen by the patron. Patrons also then choose the number of books they want to receive and how often. So for example, they might want to get 2 books on CD every week. They might want to get one Braille book a month. Whatever the reader is interested in getting, we set up an automated profile. So we get one of our contact center staff will talk to you, find out what kind of books you like, you know, mystery, romance, biography, what format you want your books in, how often you want to receive them, and how many titles. Automatic selection is offered for audiobooks on CD for what's called direct to player. Direct to player is just a format where instead of having to wait for a CD in the mail, the book is transferred directly from the CELA website onto the patron's device, whether they're using a smartphone, a tablet, a computer, or in some cases, an internet-enabled DAISY player. So automatic selection is offered for audiobooks on CD for direct to player, as well as for Braille and print Braille titles. So print Braille, those are just children's picture books. So they have the print text, but in between each print page, there's a plastic Braille page so that the books could be read by a blind caregiver or parent and a sighted child, or vice versa. Titles in the Bookshare collection are not available through this process of automatic selection, but you can request Bookshare titles either by logging in to your CELA account on the website and placing holds, or by contacting us via phone or email. And also, clients always have the option of choosing books on their own by logging into CELAlibrary.ca and selecting the format that they need. For clients who maybe aren't comfortable using a computer or going to CELA's website, they always have the option of calling or emailing CELA's contact center. We have a toll-free number, which is on the PowerPoint slide, or you can get in touch with the contact center by sending them an email at help@CELAlibrary.ca. So what does CELA offer in terms of delivery options, like how you're going to get your books? So there are a few delivery options for our books and magazines, depending on what devices you're using. If you're using technology like a tablet, like an iPad, for example, a smartphone or a computer, you can download titles onto those devices. So direct to player, which is the delivery option that I just mentioned, it's a quick and convenient way to receive DAISY books without having to wait for a CD in the mail or without having to use a computer to download files and then transfer them to a device. If you or someone in your residence has an internet connection, we can send the books directly to your mobile devices. We can also mail out CDs to your home or residence. We send our books out post-free, and it's post-free, so it doesn't cost you anything to send them back to us. So in terms of audio formats that are available from CELA, as I mentioned before, we have both human narrated and synthetic or computer generated audio. The delivery options for the audio formats, there's the DAISY direct to player format, zip, where you download the DAISY zip files onto a computer, and then normally you would transfer those files to the device that you're using to listen to your books, or you can receive physical DAISY CDs in the mail. So some of the devices that you might use to read books from CELA, a smartphone, a tablet. Some people will have a DAISY player, like a Stratus, a Victor Stratus. You can also, for example, if you don't have access to a DAISY player, if you have a CD player, as long as it will play MP3 files, you should be able to listen to our DAISY CDs on that player, or you can even listen to the books through a computer. So those are the audio formats that are available from CELA. We also have e-text or electronic text formats. So those include DAISY text, EPUB, and Word. And the delivery options for those formats, again, you can get DAISY text through direct to player for DAISY and zip download, and some devices you might use to read these formats, the electronic text formats, again, a smartphone, a tablet, computer, or a DAISY player. So CELA's collection also includes Braille books in both contracted and uncontracted Braille. So delivery options are either electronic Braille if you have Braille display, the device that you use to read electronic Braille. We also send out physical Braille, so that we emboss. Our physical Braille that we send out in the mail is called one-way Braille, and that's because every time we get a new request for a Braille book, we emboss a copy specifically for that user. So if you do borrow or get physical Braille delivered from CELA, those books you don't need to return. You could either recycle or keep them as you like. As I mentioned before, we have a smaller collection of what's called print Braille. So these are children's picture books with plastic Braille pages added. Those books do have to be returned to CELA because it's a smaller collection and it's a collection that's in high demand. Normally, the print Braille books are sent out in cloth bags. And when you want to send them back, you just turn the address label over and it has CELA's address on the other side. You can drop the bags in any mailbox. They don't require postage. So in terms of Braille, Braille can be human transcribed or automated. So the Braille that you get from CELA, it's not human transcribed, but there is human intervention in terms of producing the Braille that we send out, which means that you'll probably find less mistakes in CELA Braille. The Braille that you request from Bookshare, which is a US-based library, it is all automated. So it means that there may be more mistakes in the Braille that you get from Bookshare. So that's just something to be aware of. So this next slide just talks about how you can stay informed about CELA. One way, we have a monthly electronic newsletter so it's sent out usually at the end of every month. It's called Open Book, and it will just have information on new titles available in the collection or any updates about reading technology. We've heard a lot, especially this spring, or especially during COVID, about how having books, magazines, and newspapers to listen to has been invaluable in helping those who feel isolated and anxious. Our services are free, and this was particularly appreciated by a CELA member from BC who wrote the following to us. The service of Bookshare and CELA are invaluable aids to my daily life and have been used constantly since being introduced to them by my eye specialist and CNIB. Since I live in a care home with very limited income, I would dearly love to continue receiving the services of both libraries. So just to sort of end, so the first thing to do if you don't already have a public library card is to get one. Then you can register, join CELA. It's very easy if you have a smartphone or a tablet to download the Easy Reader app, and basically then with your CELA account, you can start downloading books onto your app. And the last slide is just basically how to get in touch with CELA. So again, it's the toll-free number, 1-855-655-2273. The contact center is open Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. That's Eastern time. So we try and have hours that will accommodate both the East and the West Coast. And the email address for the contact center is up on this PowerPoint slide again. It's help@celalibrary.ca. So that's more or less everything I wanted to say. Definitely, if there are any questions about anything that I've mentioned, or maybe you have questions about things that I didn't talk about, please feel free to ask your questions. Oh, Casa, you're on mute, I think.
Yeah, like I was saying, like people can put questions in the chat also if they want.
Yeah, and if you'd like, Casa, if it's useful, I can send the PowerPoint slides with the notes in case anyone would want those. Well, maybe I covered everything.
Okay, it was really informative, really nice. Oh, that is.
Oh, there's a question. Well, the reason that basically CELA is a service that sort of grew out of CNIB library service. And so people were lobbying for a number of years, feeling that people, with print disabilities shouldn't have to depend on a charity to get their library service. And so that whether or not you have a print disability, you should be able to go to your local public library. So CELA service, in terms of, if you look at our collection, it's very similar to what you would find in a mid-sized public library collection, I would say. So it's not an academic library or college library. So it's much more for general interest reading. But that being said, and it's funded via the public library system, which is why a person it would be the natural place, I would think, to sign up for library service would be to go to a person's public library. But that being said, CELA is also a service that's available for educators, for teachers, and that's for teachers at all levels. So teachers at elementary, secondary, and post-secondary institutions, so including college and university libraries. So if a person is an educator and they have students with print disabilities, they can sign up for free access to CELA and Bookshare collections. Again, they have to have a valid public library card number to sign up, but it gives them access to our collection to assist any of their students with print disability. So in that way, the sort of scope of CELA's collection is broader than just the public libraries in terms of who can access it. And CELA is also available to other professionals who work with people with print disability. So for example, personal support workers or people who work in long-term care facilities or senior centers. If they're assisting a person with a print disability, they can also sign up through CELA for something called a client access support account, and it will give them free access to CELA's collection in order to assist the people they're working with who have print disabilities.
Okay, so if nobody has any more questions, we can end the call.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kausar, for doing the tech for this. And thanks everyone who's here. And please, if you do, you might think of a question later on, you can always get in touch with us at our toll-free number or by sending us an email.
Okay, thank you so much. It was really informative. Thank you.